National Incorporated, Caverton Offshore Support Group, Ikeja Hotel, and FTN Cocoa Processors, while Fitson Healthcare, Chams Holding Company, NACO, Airtel Africa, and Sovereign Trust Insurance recorded notable gains. The divergent market breadth highlights the continued presence of profit-taking pressure, even as the broader market maintains its bullish trajectory. Sectoral performance was equally mixed, with the Consumer Goods Index gaining 0.76% to emerge as the major positive contributor to the session. The gains in consumer goods stocks, however, were countered by declines across most other major sectors. The insurance index fell 1.64%, while the banking index declined 0.24%. The oil and gas index shed 0.09%, while the industrial goods index eased 0.05%. The commodities sector closed flat. Meantime, the Plateau State government has described the Renewed Hope Vocational and Skills Training Program as a strategic pathway for restoring dignity and expanding economic participation among the poor and vulnerable. Secretary to the government of Plateau State, Samuel Jatto, stated this at the closing ceremony of the program held at Government Technical College, Bukuru. Our correspondent has details of the report.
The Secretary to the Government of the State, Samuel Jatto, who was guest speaker, said the event was a celebration of capacity, new opportunities, and renewed hope for the people. Represented by the Permanent Secretary, Policy and General Services, Timothy Gayi, Jatto noted that Nigeria is at a crucial point where multidimensional poverty affects income, education, health, and livelihood, and therefore demands deliberate investment and sustained implementation.
The National Social Investment Program Agency is giving practical expression to the Renewed Hope agenda by equipping citizens with productive skills, strengthening livelihoods, and supporting the transition from dependency to self-reliance.
He added that in Plateau State, Governor Caleb Mutfwang is advancing an inclusive, people-centered social protection agenda through the Time is Now vision, with interventions targeted at women, widows, persons with disabilities, youths, and other vulnerable groups. Plateau State Coordinator of the National Social Investment Program, NERIFORM, said the 2-week intensive training was made possible by the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, designed by National Social Investment Agency and implemented by NPower. She said the threats cut across all demand-driven sectors. She urged the graduates to start business and be excellent at their trade.
For 2 weeks, you have learned, you have gotten better. I therefore urge you to seize upon the occasion and put to practice what you have learned and acquired.
Speaking on behalf of the participants, one of the beneficiaries, Pam Jerry, expressed gratitude to the federal government, Plateau State government, and National Social Investment Agency.
Ma, we appreciate your dedication, coordination, and support. You ensure that this program runs smoothly in our state and that every participant had the opportunity to learn and grow.
Dignitaries, top government officials, and Plateau State Coordinator, NPower, who spoke at the event, also urged beneficiaries to put into practice what they have learned and acquire. High point of the event was the presentation of starter packs to the beneficiaries. The Renew Hope Vocational and Skills Training Program is a federal government initiative aimed at equipping youths and vulnerable persons with practical demand-driven skills for self-employment and wealth creation. In Jos, Joseph Langwap.
Now, President Bola Tinubu has said Nigeria is targeting more than doubling the livestock sector's estimated $32 billion annual contribution to the national economy as part of efforts to make the country a leading hub for livestock production and processing in Africa. Tinubu stated this on Monday in Abuja at the opening ceremony of the 9th All-Africa Conference on Animal Agriculture, themed Repositioning Animal Agriculture for Africa's Agricultural Food Security and Global Competitiveness. The president, who was represented at the event by the secretary to the government of the Federation, George Akume, said the federal government was committed to transforming livestock production from a largely subsistence and cultural activity into a modern, technology-driven and commercially competitive industry. According to him, Nigeria has one of the largest livestock populations in Africa, comprising over 58 million cattle, 64 million sheep, 124 million goats, and 660 million poultry species. He said Nigeria's livestock sector is estimated to contribute over $32 billion annually to the national economy and remains a major pillar of agricultural production, food security, and rural development. Tinubu said his administration has placed agriculture and food security at the center of its renewed hope agenda, leading to the establishment of the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development in July 2024. He described the creation of the ministry as a historic decision, saying it demonstrated the administration's commitment to transforming the livestock industry. The president said his administration had also approved institutional reforms based on the recommendations of the Presidential Committee on Livestock Reform. Nigeria's internet consumption reached an estimated 6.6 trillion naira in value over the 12 months through May, indicating the scale of the country's expanding digital economy, even as telecommunications operators contend with the cost of carrying ever-growing volumes of traffic. The estimate is derived from data usage figures reported by the Nigerian Communications Commission and an average value of 431 naira per gigabyte, rather than from revenue reported by telecommunications operators. Before the NCC's 50% tariff increase in January 2025, the average price of 1 gigabyte of mobile data in Nigeria was about 287.50 naira. After the hike took effect in February 2025, the regulated average rose to 431.25 naira per 1 gigabyte, while actual retail prices commonly range between 475 naira and 637.50 naira, depending on the operator and plan. NCC data show Nigerians consumed 15.32 million terabytes of internet data between June 2025 and May 2026. Converting that volume into gigabytes produces about 15.32 billion gigabytes. At 431 naira per gigabyte, it means subscribers spent about 6.6 trillion naira on data consumption. Consumption is not limited to the 4 major mobile operators, which include Airtel, MTN, T2, and Globalcom. It encompasses internet usage associated with different licensed service providers and technologies, including GSM, fixed wire connections, internet service providers, and VoIP services. The 431 naira benchmark is an estimated average rather than an official industry-wide price. Actual prices paid for data varied depending on the operator, technology, consumer, bundle, promotional offer, validity period, and other commercial conditions. According to the NCC data, monthly consumption rose from about 1.04 million terabytes in June 2025 to a record 1.50 million terabytes in May 2026, an increase of roughly 44%. Over the period, usage generally trended upward, although there were monthly declines. Consumption rose to about 1.13 million terabytes in July and 1.15 million terabytes in August, before remaining flat in September. It passed 1.2 million terabytes in October and November, then grew to 1.39 million terabytes in December. Oil prices extended hefty gains Tuesday as hopes for a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz fade, fanning fresh inflation fears and ramping up bets on at least one U.S. interest rate hike this year. Crude has surged around 10% over the past week, with the United States and Iran appearing no closer to a deal on the crucial waterway, despite upbeat comments from the White House earlier in the month. Brent crude futures fell 10% or 0.11% to $87.62 on a barrel by 04:05 GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were down 5% or 0.06% to $82.08 a barrel. In the latest blow, Donald Trump said he would seek conflict compensation from Iran as part of any peace negotiations, citing attacks and killings stretching back decades, allegedly backed or perpetrated by Tehran. The U.S. president's announcement was a direct response to Tehran's demand for U.S. war reparations as a precondition to any resolution of the crisis. Trump's remarks came a day after he said he was low-keying his approach to the conflict, suggesting he was prepared to let economic pressure mount in place of further military strikes. However, the latest back and forth risks putting a quick agreement further out of reach, and on Monday, both main crude contracts jumped around 5%. They extended the gains on Tuesday. And Stephen Ince, global strategist at Quintex Intel, said, in effect, both sides are trying to weaponize the oil barrel without firing another shot. Washington is trying to choke Iran's ability to get its crude out, while Tehran is squeezing the artery through which everybody else's crude gets through. The prospect of oil prices remaining elevated for the time being has revived concerns over inflation and boosted the chances of interest rate increases. And that's a wrap on business news. Do remember to stay tuned for News Track at 2 p.m. as well as Global News at 6:30 p.m. Thanks for watching.